Hey, yo, lesson here, babe. You come at the king, you best not miss.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Normal World. I'm Dave Landau.
I am Quarter Black Garrett.
And joining us is...
Angela.
That's weird. She's silent today. Must be on the rag.
Yeah.
Not the only one bleeding over the weekend. All right, so good to be here. Also joining us, a comedian.
Yes. Friend of the show.
Jimmy McCartney.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm happy to be back, man. It means a lot.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Absolutely.
We greatly appreciate it. And of course, we're here a bit of an odd weekend. We should probably jump into it.
A little bit of a thing happened over the weekend. I don't know if you noticed that.
Relatively big news. Yeah. I'm going to be at the Omaha Funny Bone this weekend, July 19 and 20. And then Tampa the weekend after that. And of course, Royal Oak. Other than that, not much news.
No, it was a slow week.
No, of course.
I'm excited for your shows.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And also, they tried to assassinate former president.
Oh, yeah.
And
I forgot about that.
And next president Donald Trump.
Dude, in the most gangster way after, boom, fist in the air. We'll get into it. It was great.
We will. It was absolutely...
It was sad. It was very sad. Horrible things happened. Somebody died.
Watching it live was bone-chilling,
It was
but
very terrifying.
The fight or flight response was the most gangster thing in the history of assassination.
Freaking epic.
Dude, there's something about a bullet that makes me feel like, oh, you're doing something right, especially when it seems that set up.
Yeah. When you see, we hear this all the time, right? You don't know what situation, if you're put in that situation, what would you do? Would you fight? Would you fly? Would you fly? If we saw him run away and cower, and even if he was legitimately injured in a way that could make him feel that way, to see him get back up, and you could see it in the crowd, completely change energy when he put his fist in the air and said, fight. Everyone just started, America, America. Like, that's iconic. There's so many photos from that incident, iconic moments. There's the American flag behind him.
I believe that photo is going to be this century's version of the flag over Iwo Jima.
It has that kind of composition of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It almost looks like it, yeah.
And I don't think that's going to be something that's forgotten to history for sure.
No one ran.
Yep.
I mean, that's what he incited in people was stay put.
Yeah, stand your ground.
It was absolutely insane, and I was taking pictures from the second it started. It was strange because people were near the podium. It seemed odd. People were walking up. I was texting Matt, and I was like, this just seems bizarre. Like, I had an odd feeling, and Matt and I were texting back, and Bridget Fedesi, and all of a sudden, you just hear those pops that were clearly not fireworks, and all of a sudden he's down, no idea what's going on, and when that dude popped up, fist in the air, I was like, this motherfucker.
Yep.
You're not even like a huge Trump fan. I'm not.
I gotta be honest.
I find him really interesting, and he's a very funny guy.
Yes.
I vote him almost surely because of that, and also economically. But like after this moment,
now I am.
Like hardcore, dude.
I absolutely am.
Almost immediately after that, Elon Musk said, Trump has my full endorsement.
Me too. And I mean, I fully endorse him now.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like that there is a divide and conquer going on. There's something bigger than all of this. It's the same way as the media stepped in after and said, look, after the debates and said, well, Joe Biden is, it seems like he might be falling apart a bit. We haven't noticed this.
We've been concerned this entire time.
Yeah.
And this just confirmed. Where you been?
The last 6 years, we've never seen him have an off day like this.
He was just on the ball every day up until today, and now we're concerned.
So sharp. Sure, we had 8 Parkinson's doctors visit him this week, but that's
every
normal.
Every time he's on a bicycle, he takes a crash.
Which is why we haven't allowed him to ride one since the last time he was in front of the press.
Oh.
But basically they're trying to take out 2 presidents right now. And that's how it seems. And if you're using a bullet, I think it means you're doing a good job. And I say, Let's bring him in.
That's a dude.
Let's bring him back.
That's
And right now, I'd like to bring on somebody else who's more of an expert in these sort of things. He had joined the Marines, and he was a scout, a sniper, and a recon Marine. But after 9/11, he then joined the Army and spent most of his career there as a Green Beret in the 3rd Special Forces Group. He's also an author of 6 books, including the new book, Barbarian Spirit, which you can check out on Amazon. Please welcome to the show, Clay Martin.
All right, that was some good applause. Thanks, guys.
It's just me in here.
I should have clapped it. I should have clapped harder. Let's try it again. Clay Martin. The man served the country,
Thank you.
and we gave him a men at work golf clap.
It was a respectful clap.
Yeah, so the minute word golf clap is respectful.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
appreciate
We meant with love, sir.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you're on, because then you can get into this, because we're laymen. We just had a video where we went to the gun range and made a fool of ourselves. So it's good to have you here that is like legit.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate the vote of confidence, and all that stuff. I also taught sniper schools. I taught the Marine Corps sniper school as a contractor, and I also taught Army Special Forces sniper school. So I've shot a couple of guns.
You might know some stuff. Okay.
1 or 2, yes. It sounds like you know your stuff, yeah. Like, I guess right off the bat, I'd like to ask, what do you think about how long it took the snipers to locate the target? Didn't it seem a bit long?
Man, I don't think those 2 guys that we saw in the video ever actually located him. I believe now that the tree is in the way, and the 2 that we saw never saw him. Mm-hmm. I think that the snipers behind that, it still seems like it took a little bit. It almost looks like that was like a blind spot that nobody bothered to look at, which is crazy.
Insane.
But it did take a while. It did take a little while.
Okay, and also, so this is another one I wrote down. What do you think about the way that people acted? Like, people are claiming that they flinched, or like they lifted their head, which is like the opposite of what people would do during a shooting.
Especially that one sniper that we can see on film that came off the gun.
Yes.
What I think actually happened, and this is not like talking smack or anything like that, but the odds of like a Secret Service guy or a cop having shot another human being before is actually pretty low. There were some military guys that have done Secret Service stuff after, but for the most part, those guys. So it's kind of it's not a completely abnormal reaction to kind of come away from the mechanical thing and look with your own eye, like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
And then get back on
Okay.
it. It's not good, but you really don't know if somebody's going to do it until you're in a real situation.
That makes sense.
That is something that I see a lot of people saying, like, everyone's incompetent, which is a lot of incompetency that just on full display. But none of us have been in that situation. We don't know what we would do in that situation. Right. And these people have so much more training, and even they don't know what they'd do in a situation like that. So, like, to push our expectations after the fact, and 2020 and all that stuff. So yeah, I totally get that idea.
I also said this too, like, you're a Secret Service guy and you're protecting Donald Trump, and you smoke somebody that has a telescope, or a kid with a Pringles can or something like that. What do you think Joe Biden's Justice Department is going to do to you? All right, it's not like protecting George W. back in 2008. So I actually give them a little bit of hesitancy built in on that fact.
What do you think about why that rooftop wasn't covered? Why weren't there people on top of that rooftop? I know that building was the staging area from the police, and the current Secret Service head said it was because of the slanted roof. Which, do you think that's a...
And there was a ladder.
And there was a ladder up on top of it. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on.
It just seems like a Mr. Bean movie.
They had the banana splits as Secret Service agents up there.
What's going on? I said too on one of the other shows too is I wouldn't have been looking there because it's so stupid. Like
no way.
Really, that makes sense though.
Yeah, like you're a professional, you're looking for shingles at a place, stuff like that. Not some idiot 100 yards away on a rooftop that's supposed to have cops on it. Like that's a preposterous place to have to look.
Yeah, it seems that way, like the hiding in plain sight thing.
Yeah. What, I mean, was this kid basically Agent 47? Like, I mean, respect, kind of, in a way.
Right.
Mission, Agent 47, if you can do it, is to get to Donald Trump. Oh, it was really easy. Okay, well.
Yeah, like the best
super
way
easy mission. This is an easy mode.
Yeah, the best way to hide pot from your parents is just the joint you have in your mouth.
At the time.
It's just
this? No.
Yeah, that's
not
no, that makes sense though. I mean, yeah, because it does seem like the most obvious place where, because it almost seemed like the snipers behind him, and correct me if I'm wrong, weren't even facing where he was.
That's correct. That's how I see it as well. I don't think they were looking that direction.
Okay.
Clay, could it have been possible that the Secret Service actually coordinated ahead of time with the local police to say, like, that's our building, you don't have to worry about it? So that could have taken out of their line of sight?
It's entirely possible. From the reporting I've seen, there was supposed to be like a SWAT team on top of that roof.
Yeah.
So that if that's the case, is a sniper in like an Overwatch position like that, you might occasionally glance at the guys that are your friendlies, but not that often. The odds of like some James Bond stuff where somebody comes up and like knifes your two guys and puts their two guys, that doesn't happen, man. That's not real life. So you wouldn't really even be looking at a place that was supposed to already be secured.
Okay, so like, what do we know? Do we know anything about the gun used? Like, would that affect the shot at all? Like in trajectory, wind, anything like that?
Okay, so to be totally fair, I ran the math on the worst possible bullet it could be for a 5.56 round or a 223 round, which would be a Winchester white box, basically hunk of garbage bullet with the lowest possible velocity. In a full 10-mile-an-hour wind, you're getting a 2.5-inch drift. So you would miss by, if you were aiming center head, that would put you about right here. So I do not believe for a second that it was the wind.
So he was, I guess, kicked out of his high school rifle club, which, again,
Can't
the fact
shoot.
that in the days of
horrible gunman.
horrible shooter,
If I got hit, I would have been fine.
yeah, but yeah, which why a high school has a rifle club is hysterical
this
to
day.
me in the day of school shooting.
Based, it's kind of cool. I
It's
mean.
like learning to write a manifesto in fourth period. But the idea of that is strange to me. So it's clearly his shot, but he was kicked out of it, obviously, because of his talent. But was it an easy shot? I mean, basically, that's what you said. Like, I mean, would it have been? I mean, honestly?
That's child's play. 125-yard shot, like somebody that's even remotely good can stand up and shoot just standing here, like hit a man-sized target all day long at that range. And from laying down and all that, that's yes, you can't miss.
It's so odd to me because it's like he managed to get on the roof and be able to get that gun and point it at the president, but then also be the shittiest shooter imaginable. And this is not to
many
mock
miracles.
anybody that was hurt, obviously, but I'm just saying for the target, it's so ironic.
Well, I mean, you've seen these lefties fight though with their hands too. I mean, they're not any better with those.
That's true. They get dropped very quickly.
It's true.
Yeah. They tend to even, as I recall with Rittenhouse, just try to grab the gun.
They come straight at it. That was also something I've seen on social media. They're like, when the right shoots randomly into a crowd of people that are coming at them, they hit a couple pedophiles, an abuser, a few things. When the left shoots into conservatives, they hit a firefighter, a family man, a strong member in his community. Like, that's the example, the differences there in those two scenarios. Because they tried to match the two of these people, Kyle Rittenhouse and this shooter, and they're nowhere even close. Nowhere even close. Same things happen.
And yeah, that's very true. Like, and do you feel like, and feel free not to answer this if it's something you can't, it's just conspiracy theories get floated around.
Oh, yeah.
And do you feel that, like, this could be something much bigger and a divide and conquer sort of thing coming from an enemy? Sort of even a thing where, like, our mutual friend Matt said, where he's sort of a super dorky Jason Bourne sort of character, where they convince that he's going to go in there.
Oh my God, it's retard Bourne.
Yeah, they basically, where he's...
Look at him, he's climbing that ladder, he's doing it.
Yeah, so where he's... So yeah, they basically were going to convince him, like, you're going to be him. Yeah.
Right.
And
No. I mean, I think it's a fair question. Honestly, look, when I look at this, all right, that is an easy shot for somebody that's competent. But I don't for a second believe that this chucklehead soy boy carried a ladder in and all this other stuff that they're saying. I am actually, this is just a gut instinct. I have no data to back this up. It would not surprise me if there was actually a second shooter that was competent, that was at a much further range, and that's the one that clipped old Donnie in the ear, and his head turn actually saved him. And this incompetent boob was just supposed to die in place. That's my personal theory.
That's kind of where I'm leaning to, just because I can't imagine that somebody who comes off this incompetent would have actually been able to land that shot, and it just feels like there'd be something behind this to sort of, I don't know, get him.
It's very fishy, the whole scenario.
If you were the conspiracy guy that could set this up, is that who you would pick as your linchpin plan?
That's who you pick to be the fall guy.
No, he looks like a guy who, honestly, and I know that people may be angry, but you look at his picture and you're like, oh, and you shouldn't, like, when you see an assassin, you shouldn't be like, that guy. I mean, I think it would be kind of funny if it turned out he did it for Jodie Foster again. But
Jodie Foster at this age, like, come on, man.
You're like, come on, again? She's a lesbian now. But it's
times have changed.
but yeah, I just find it I just find it crazy that this was the guy who they sort of blamed it on, and I think you're right, like there could have been somebody else there. So I was curious if you did think that. So
I have a question. So I'm assuming you've done a lot of these missions where you communicate with your team and other teams. What do you think the communication is in the field between the police and the Secret Service? Because for 2 minutes, people were telling the police, "Hey, there's somebody on that roof. Somebody's climbing up. Right. He has a rifle." And they didn't take Trump off the stage. They didn't do anything. Do you think there was a breakdown of communication between the two teams, or what is your take on that?
Oh no, absolutely. I've never done one with the Secret Service, so full disclosure on that. But any other time when you're dealing with like multiple agencies or whatever, somebody's whole job is going to be on. One guy's on that command net, and there's another guy that listens to his command net and that command net, and he can instantly transfer data in between the two. Now they're not all going to be on the same channel because there's too much stuff going on. But yes, there are people whose like entire role is to take information from over here and pass it to over here. So there is no excuse for that. And that's also not like a small deal. It's not like we got a guy with a suitcase or his Happy Meal's double the size it should be. So this guy had a rifle on the roof, or before they had a rangefinder. Like, why would you bring a rangefinder to a president speaking? All right, you gonna play a couple links after this? What are you doing here, man? Like, that doesn't make any sense. A guy with a rangefinder is instant red flag.
Yeah, that's right. So I guess I'm just still thinking too, to the last question as well. Like, has there been any reports between a second shooter? I guess this is getting into like the JFK thing. So
it is. Yeah.
Between there being a second shooter and retardy Oswald, like, is there a difference between the two?
There's been nothing credible. You can't really trust eyewitness accounts from 5 minutes after. There's been a couple people that said, "Oh, I saw somebody on the water tower," which is also not where a pro would be. I just have a.
It feels like a long climb.
Back down. Hold up, guys! I've got to get away.
I'm going to get away for about 20 minutes. I don't like heights.
You put a spotlight on yourself, basically.
Them out. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So there's been no credible source, but maybe it's just because the JFK thing. But I had that instinct almost from the beginning, and we'll see if anything ever comes to that. Right now, it's just gut. But yeah.
How do you think it plays out to keep him safe in the future?
Oh my God. Well,
sorry, I mean to laugh. It just seems so bleak.
No. I actually see the worst case scenario would be, okay, let's say if they set this up with some knucklehead they didn't think would succeed, just to see how mad people get. People got very, very mad. People were very upset. People were really ready to throw hands the night. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibilities they send a pro to actually whack them sometime in the next 2 months, just to start things that they want started. And that's a little bit of tinfoil hat crazy, but I think it's possible.
Well, because we've talked about it on this show, from the beginning I thought months ago they're going to have this June debate to kind of start pushing Biden out, and that seemed to be accurate. And I shouldn't know that. I'm not. I went to high school for 5 years, and then after that I thought, I think they're going to try to take him out the old-fashioned way. Then it happened.
Did it happen?
And I shouldn't be able to call these things. So
blatant.
And it's like you're obviously more, well more versed in warfare than I am, and I know there's lots of other ways to go about doing it. And that's kind of what I'm wondering is there's got to be so many more logical ways to get to somebody than, the roof 11 feet away.
Only roof in the area.
And I hope to hell it doesn't happen, because I think I really think this is something that America does not need.
Yeah.
Oh man, once you start going down the road of like political violence, it
Yeah.
is very hard to turn off. We've already had a
Yeah.
couple of steps. Like
Yeah.
once you do like a big one like that, like oh man. And you know, actually a point that I had not thought of until you brought it up just now. Talk about emboldening. All right, so every lefty chucklehead in America with the John Brown Gun Club membership just saw that you can get within 125 yards of old Donnie T. That's emboldening. I think I would hate to be a Secret Service guys right now. They got to be like stretching out, trying to work the trigger finger, because it's going to be every knucklehead in the world potentially coming at them.
The woman's getting a sex change.
Getting that surgery where they can get like 3 inches taller.
Yeah, she's like, you know what? Maybe they're right. This shouldn't be inclusive.
Maybe I should start doing some push-ups or something. I don't know.
So Clay, I got a question for you,
Oh
actually.
yeah.
So I was just at a concert where there was a guy who leaped over the friends from the lawn seats and went past the first gate people that are supposed to keep you out into the lawn.
Right.
They didn't see him. And then he went up to the next front row seats where people just turned to the side and they didn't see him. This guy was like a ghost. And then he went all the way up to the pit next to Dave Matthews, and those people didn't see him. So he went through like 4 layers of security like a ninja, and he got all the way up to the front. How many layers of security or how many lapses had to have aligned in order for that to happen? Like, was this just like one little like lapse where it was like, oh, the police are there, so maybe we don't need to look? Or do you think there was multiple failures from different fronts that caused that to happen?
Not knowing exactly how far out Secret Service usually does their thing, which I mean, I got to think it's a little ways though. I think it's more than 100 yards for the ex-president of the United States. Yeah. I don't really have a good answer to that, but 26 minutes first time they saw him. Guys carrying a little giant Home Depot ladder. The fact that he was seen 3 times, one of which with a rangefinder, the next time with like a gun case. Yeah. That's at least like 5-6 failures of security. So yeah, it's not good. It's not looking good.
Well, there was the officer. It was reported the officer engaged him on the roof.
Took a picture of him. Yeah.
Right. So what is that? He got up there, engaged with him, and then backed away, and then that gave him time to take the shots. That's a failure on individual right there.
Also, at your concert, it was one of the Goo Goo Dolls, and people hadn't seen them in years.
So no one suspected a thing.
No.
I used to be somebody.
So, well, I don't want to hold you up, Clay. I really do appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much for your insight and expertise. And also pick up his books as well as his brand new book, Barbarian Spirit, on Amazon, available right now.
Hey, can I have one tasteless one before we leave?
Yes.
You didn't see Abe Lincoln stand up and say fight.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure.
That's right.
Amen.
Thank you for your service, Clay. Thank you for everything you did for our country, man.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks
you
for
very
having me on,
much.
guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That was cool. It's really good that you got him to come on, because it was just going to be a 3 of us retards in here talking about it and not having any insight at all.
It's a miracle he survived, QB.
It really is.
You know what else is a miracle?
What?
Miracle Made Sheets.
You got me again, Dave.
I know. I bet you didn't see that one coming.
I did not.
It's hot outside. Hot.
Ooh.
Oof.
Steamy.
Scorcher. It's hot outside, and your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality.
Oh, yeah.
If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA and use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating, so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long.
Yeah.
All night long.
All night.
All night.
All night.
All night.
All night.
All night long.
Whoa.
Stop sleeping on bacteria.
Yeah, it's gross.
Bacteria can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne. Sleep clean with Miracle Made sheets. And how do you get them? You go to trymiracle.com/normal.
That's right.
Trymiracle.com/normal.
Mm-hmm.
And get your sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or a gift for a loved one, boy, that's somebody you must really love.
Yeah.
Loving all night.
All night.
All night.
All night.
All night. Angela?
Sorry, I'm here. Sorry, I was late. If you order today, you can save over 40% all night.
All night?
Think you can come in
You
here?
can save 40%?
Yeah.
Wait, how? What?
Well, only if you ordered a day.
Today?
What about tonight?
All night.
Oh. And if you use our promo code NORMAL at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels.
3?
Yeah.
You on top of the sheets?
On top of the sheets.
Top of the
Free,
sheets.
free towels.
Towels.
They're free.
They're free.
They're free.
Free to bet. And save an extra 20%. So just go to trymiracle.com/normal. And you're going to go ahead and thank yourself all summer long while they keep your body nice and cool.
Again, that's trymiracle.com/normal with code normal.
Mm-hmm.
You don't approve of the way that Dave said it? You're just going to come in here like this? And
There are things that have to be done.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to do certain things by the book.
I don't like
That's what I used to say when I was a cop before I was kicked off the force.
They ever take away your badge?
Yeah, I'll be like, give me your gun and your badge
Put it on my desk.
right now.
You're off the case, Dave.
You know I have other guns at home, Chief.
I did not know that.
I also have a fake badge.
Like from Party City.
I did. I got one at Party City.
If you flash it real quick, they don't ask questions.
They don't.
If it's in an official looking wallet, too.
Yeah.
The wallet is important.
Yeah.
You can just get that at TJ Maxx.
Yeah. Sometimes I like to put it on one of those
You
little
Maxxinista?
chains.
I am a
On a
Maxxinista.
chain, like in a
I also rob drug dealers.
show.
Fun fact: a fake
Smart.
badge and wallet is how the shooter got close to Donald Trump and passed security.
Probably
He
true.
flashed the Party City badge. We're like, this checks out.
That's a star.
You look like a normal.
sheriff?
Yeah, you look like a normal person.
You look like Rocky Dennis in Mask. Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's fine. You look like you've had a tough break.
You carrying the ladder there?
Wait a second.
doing some work.
Are you a master of disguise? This guy's just a regular worker. He's like, oh, I'm here to fix the roof with a rifle. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
It's fine.
Get on up there.
He's got a ladder. He looks official. We're living in times that are silly.
Yeah, have you
cartoon
guys
time.
ever seen the videos where people snuck into the Super Bowl by carrying in a ladder?
Is that true?
That really happened, yeah. And people have gotten into movie theaters by carrying in a ladder. That's all he did. He just carried in the ladder. That was the thing.
You got to look.
Watch those videos on
Serious.
YouTube. Yeah.
See, I got into the Super Bowl when my brother and I stood on each other's shoulders and had a long trench coat.
See, that's the normal way.
Yeah, we did that last year.
And if you combined the Party City badge with that,
Yeah,
you can
Yeah.
get anywhere.
that's what we did. We were super tall cop. They were like, come right in. They were like,
We're gonna make that movie.
Yeah, we were super tall cop. Super tall cop. He doesn't look like he should be that tall. Something's off about his arms, but he's
Get into my office, super tall cop.
yes, he's like wiggling as he comes in.
Can't quite get the door. He's like, oh, lean me down, lean me down.
Yeah. Okay. He's like leaning on the desk. What do you need, boss? Give me your gun and your badge. Like,
Up
Both
your-
of you guys
your
are on the legs
accomplices.
of a raccoon. I just want you to have raccoon legs.
yeah, we should. For no reason.
They're just tiny.
You're on a pony as well. You just all right. Like a third hand hands you the gun and the badge. Here you go.
That's what it sounds like the Secret Service are running on. Just cartoon people.
They were.
You see them like mulling around outside the U.S. Like, they didn't know what they were doing.
That'd be the funny if the one comes out and is like, "Listen, I'm actually 2 children, and we're standing on top of a raccoon, and that's why we couldn't get to the podium on time."
Yeah.
I feel like the country would be like, you know what? That checks out. That sounds about accurate for what the response that we got.
Live in Looney Tune land.
They're like, "Look, we're kids. Sorry."
Our bad.
You'd be surprised how easy it is to get a job as the Secret Service for Donald Trump. They didn't even background check.
Yeah, super easy.
The not so secret service.
I drew my ID.
Nobody's checking ID. You don't have to have ID to vote.
No,
You need to have ID to be a Secret Service agent.
no, you don't need that. You don't
Please.
need that nonsense.
I will say though, there's a lot of people like trashing all the women that were on there, like DEI hires and all this stuff. But there was one that was right there on top of Trump, right when it happened. So props to her.
She did good.
Good job.
No, honestly though, that's a
other two, though.
that's a prime example as to why DEI is a detriment even to its own goals. Because when you have those types of policies in place and these things happen, now everyone is going to look and say that all female Secret Service agents are incompetent or not good, which is obviously not the case.
Yeah.
But when
No,
you
it's
see
most
policies,
of them.
It's the majority of it.
When you see policies that are publicly put in place like that, then these incidents happen. Now you're going to have people that were either indifferent or slightly leaning to the side of being against female Secret Service agents, saying females shouldn't do that. They're
I don't know,
incompetent.
Jimmy.
They're not
But
good.
what if she had her period? What if Donald
yeah.
Trump wasn't the only person bleeding there that
Exactly.
day?
You
That'll
know how
happen.
many bears could have come out of the Pennsylvania woods?
It's wild there.
Yeah. It's one thing you got somebody shooting, now you got period bears.
That'll happen. That whenever I go to Pennsylvania, I'm always on the whereabouts of period blood bears.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
I
just
know.
sniff the air.
And what if somebody had a PB and honey sandwich?
In one of those picnic baskets.
Now they're swiping picnic baskets.
Shooting presidents. It's crazy. It's pandemonium out there.
What a mess it could have been.
Insane.
Does the PB stand for period blood?
Period. Period blood and honey. Some guy's just like, what? You eat what you eat. I eat.
This is all natural, organic. PB&J.
I enjoy me. Whose is that? It's my daughter's.
Oh,
Oh my God.
yeah, dark.
She's 18. How's that better?
That isn't. Just don't tell anybody that. It's not information people want to
You
know.
just said your wife. Wife's dead. Ate all her period blood.
It's the Bears.
That's how she died.
That's how she died. That's how her mother died. That's how her grandmother died. That's how we die in this family, damn it.
Overdrained.
Free bleed. All right, in the woods.
The bears came.
Bears come, that's nature.
See, you hear that pitter patter? That's them coming now.
Yeah, they're fast.
If I were you, I'd get that president out of here. He looks like he's gonna live.
The president.
I can hear him in the woods.
Got rabid blood bears.
Some rapper posted a picture of JD Vance and said, "Motherfucker, look like a racist Care Bear."
I don't know who is this guy. I feel like I've heard his name before. I've heard J.D. Vance.
You know who I
These
think he
RNC
looks
things,
like?
but I've never seen him before.
He has such assertive eyelashes that I think he looks like the lead singer of Green Day.
He does a bit. He does Billy Joe Armstrong. Except I don't
like
think
the inverse.
I don't think JD Vance has a giant pussy.
I said inverse. He's
Oh, yeah, right. Sorry, I should have caught that. a giant
just a massive,
hairy muff.
just floppy too.
Yeah, I don't like
No,
Billy Joe.
I don't like Green Day. I like the first album, like Dookie, like some of the early
He
stuff.
had an album
but,
before Dookie.
Really?
Yeah, and then Dookie was the big pop mainstream,
I like that, and then they got really stupid and mainstream.
and then they did a play.
Weren't they in the Simpsons movie?
They
They
were.
were.
Simpsons movie.
Really?
They played as the ship went down.
Yeah.
There's that big Care Bear.
Yeah, get him.
There he is in that.
Well, he wrote Hillbilly Elegy, and is that it? Hillbilly
Yes.
Elegy.
Yeah.
And I saw the movie. I did not read the book. But it is it's against big pharma. It's about he grew up very poor, being caught in that system of the opioid crisis.
Mm-hmm.
He was very anti-Trump. Something happened where he does support him. I think it's because Trump isn't necessarily a very big pharma guy. So whatever it is something flipped him, and now he says VP. So I'm curious of how that goes. I think he's a pick that I did not see coming. A lot of people did.
Yeah, I didn't at all.
No, I honestly wanted it to be RFK. I think they could have done something.
that would have been wild.
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting.
I think RFK is inevitably going to be in the cabinet somehow,
do
or
too.
have a high-ranking position doing something.
I thought it was very cool that Trump called him right
Yeah.
after and made
Yes.
sure that Secret
Yeah.
Service detail was put on him. There's
Yep.
no reason that should have ever been taken off of him.
Yep.
I think that he should be involved in the cabinet as well. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I think that's inevitable. And I think one thing that's important for people to think about is when you see all of the attention that comes from the media about who's the enemy, who's the bad guy, who's the boogeyman, the conspiracy theorist, it's the two candidates, Trump and RFK. And the thing that everyone agrees on, regardless of political views, those are the two candidates that are not a part of the system. So I think it's time that America starts looking objectively at, like, where is this messaging coming from and what are the end goals?
Yeah.
Because those are the two guys. And if you think about it, their political views, the policies they want to enact are very different. So they're obviously not cut from the same cloth. But yet the media is trying to propagate them as being the bad guys, the boogie guys. And I think that everyone, regardless of political views, needs to start looking at that and getting to the core of it and thinking critically about why that's happening.
I think that makes more sense. I know JD Vance it's a very conservative, and obviously he's running as the Republican ticket. As a libertarian in the middle on the fence, I think that would be a better play. You have the Donald Trump. He's very conservative about his economically and foreign wars and all this stuff. And then you have RFK, which is more liberal, and he has liberal things in mind. And if you get those two that can be civil together and work together, how it's supposed to work, that is actually a really good way to move us out of this insane clusterfuck that we're in now.
Well,
because we've had just the mono party for decades at this point. And then you have these two guys that, like you just said, are outside of the system.
Exactly it.
Get those two guys together.
Exactly it.
And fuck the whole thing up.
Well, and I think what we have to look at too is Trump, RFK, J.D. Vance. They've all made points now where what happened, and I think in our political system we have to look at it as well, what happened to stopping monopolies?
Yeah.
Because you have these giant companies that we're just calling, well, that's capitalism. It's not. Amazon is not capitalism. It's a monster that's completely out of control. It's not a company selling one product when they stepped in and stopped Rockefeller. When it becomes way too big, they sell thousands and thousands of products. They will drop the price on something to take over the business. They will lose millions to then
They'll
just
take the hit.
cripple anything. They will, and you look at it with that. Now they do it with pharmaceuticals. They do it with literally everything to the point that
Movies, we talk about this all the time. Friday Night Tights and all the stuff that I do on the pop culture side. It's almost the exact same thing with Disney. Disney got so much space in the market. They are the loss leader. If they start failing, people go, "Oh crap, we're all going down the shitter," because they are they have the market. The entire market. They have kids, they have adults, they have everything.
Yeah, it's not that something's too big to fail. It's that it's so big nothing else can ever try, and that's the eradication of the middle class. And then you go, oh, there's more billionaires than ever. Well, yeah, is that because there's just this giant separation of poverty and rich? Or is it also because the collapse of our dollar, because we borrow $1 trillion every month, that we are able to create more billionaires because we're watching the net value of everything that we have get destroyed? Like our dollar is not worth nearly what it was.
Donald Trump was pro small business.
Absolutely, he was.
He's this massive billionaire or whatever, right? Or millionaire, multimillionaire. And he has all these massive companies, and people painted him as this one percenter. But when he was running the country, there was crazy amounts of new businesses. Small businesses got better taxes and made more money during his presidency. And I think his second presidency will be the same thing. It'll go back to more of that. And that's when you have these tax breaks that go for the 1%, it doesn't just hit the 1%. I don't mean tax breaks when you up the taxes for rich people. It's not the rich people, only the billionaires. It's everybody that owns a business, because you technically are a really rich person, right? Over that 400,000 a year bracket. That could be you. You're running a business where you don't make any money at the end of the day.
Which has almost become middle class. To put you in that bracket is a household income. I mean, I'm not saying that that's not a wonderful living. It is, but they're kind of trying to lump you into saying that that's like this super powerful 1%, and it's not.
Yeah,
it's not.
Which it's a great thing to have that many people that go over that limit. Don't hurt them. Don't hurt them when they do have success. When they do have a business that provides for people.
Yeah,
it only hurts people. This is so many people.
Well, and especially when we have this massive house that makes millions and millions of dollars on insider trading. And all this money, you're basically looking at a bunch of people who shut down the country and then invested in big pharma, and all these people that monopolized a virus and left you monopolized the vaccine for a virus, then left you inside, forcing you to take it. You were fed misinformation to the point that you were told to wear masks, which goes against everything involving an immune system. Goes against. Now there were people that were told, that did have health issues towards that, like obese people. They weren't given tax breaks on food. In fact, farmers got fucked in the ass in the last few years, where it's harder to make healthier food. It's true, not just literally, not just their daughters, but realistically, so many people got screwed by all this stuff. And then you look at waiters with tips. When Trump was in office, no taxes on those. Biden jumps in, jacked up the taxes on those. That's no longer a group of people that are here for the people. That's nobody here to help the middle class or even the lower class.
Right.
That is taxing, and I don't want to say poverty because it's not, But how are you supposed to survive on that when the price of everything is skyrocketing? And you're not being able to make anything because you're being taxed so hard by these people that swear they're trying to help you or be the party of the middle class.
And the reason why it's so silly is because the reason Joe Biden is the president was because of the messaging. Because there was so much of a push from the media and celebrities with Trump derangement syndrome, that Trump is a racist, a sexist, a bigot, xenophobe. These messaging campaigns were so strong and so powerful that it caused people to say, yeah, well, I don't like Joe Biden, but I can't vote for a man who's Adolf Hitler.
Right.
And so you end up with someone like Joe Biden, who very clearly, regardless of political views, it is blatantly obvious to just say Joe Biden has dementia, period.
Yeah.
He has dementia. He has dementia. And the fact that he's the president of the United States should terrify everybody. But the reason he is because people felt like they were choosing between someone with dementia and Adolf Hitler. And the thing that drives me crazy is when you look at how much it affected people and how much it impacted them, people aren't even capable of having conversations about Donald Trump. They become emotionally enraged, they shut down, and they don't think about the policies that you guys were talking about because they just know the rhetoric and the messaging that they've been told.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's so obvious that it's outside messaging instead of reality, when you look at what happened with George Bush when we went into Iraq, right? We were told weapons of mass destruction. We were told we have to go in there. We overthrew an independent government. We destabilized an entire region of the planet, causing thousands of deaths to Americans, countless deaths to Iraqis, all told trillions of dollars. We were there for all these years for a complete lie. And where are the liberals that have strong opposition to Trump screaming about the prosecution, which would be justified, in my opinion, against George Bush, Dick Cheney, and the special interest groups that got us there? They don't exist.
Nothing.
But yet they
It's
want to
the
go after Trump because his
monostate.
yeah, exactly. And the thing that should be a glaring example to people of like, hey, wait a minute. You may hate Donald Trump with his policies, you may hate the way that he carries himself, but is he really anything even close to what George Bush actually was? And why don't you care about that, which we know definitively?
Or Obama was.
And
or
all
Joe
the
Biden
and
has
all of
been.
those things. Why
All
is
those
there no
things.
attention on any of those other guys?
Yeah. I think that's one of the, I try to take like silver linings out of it. Like what's the positive that you can get out of an assassination attempt on the president, right? Is I think it's waking more people up. We keep having these scenarios where people that haven't quite gotten there yet, but they're starting to edge there. You had 2020, way over push. It woke people up and they go, wait, what's going on? Oh, crap. It seems to keep happening. And this is another scenario where this happens. Everyone sees it. Everyone there had a phone, showed it. If there was nobody there, the media would have just said, not Joe Biden, Donald Trump was injured. He was moved off stage. It would have just been that. And it would have just, and if it didn't get hit, you had a great point earlier. If he didn't get hit at all,
Yeah.
it would have just been gone. It would have been brushed under the,
Would have been
under the
24
rug and
hours
moved
ago.
on to whatever else happened. But because he did get hit and people were there and they could say something, they got that out there. And more people are going to see the headlines of CNN and the headlines of MSNBC and how they blatantly said that he was injured. What did he stump his toe?
Yeah.
What did he scrape his knee? No, somebody tried to kill him.
And MSNBC had to pull their morning show off
Yes.
because they couldn't rely on two anchors who host Morning Joe not to say something terrible about somebody who had just almost been murdered. And that's insane to me, but they go, why? Well, it's a good test because it's somebody who's been reading propaganda for so long that their brain has turned into something where they can't even get through a few seconds without saying something awful. And that shows you the power of propaganda, that even the person reading it is so influenced by it that they're enraged and they want to make their point and say, well, this doesn't matter. It doesn't. Look, if Joe Biden had gotten hit, that is equally as horrible to me as anything else. That is a president.
Yes.
That is if Obama, Bush, anybody who's a president in this country, you take a shot at, that is a terrifying thing and an awful thing. That is basic patriotism. And we're forgetting in this country that regardless of where you stand, the thing about America is we've come along. We're not the first country with slavery or to colonize or do any of these things. The idea of America is how great it can be. And I understand if people don't like a certain sentiment or things we've done in the past, but it's gone now. We have to work to be better. And that's what America has provided, that we have the ability to be better. But we're letting a lot of people in the House make a lot of money off of making this pretty shitty. And when you point a gun and shoot a bullet at somebody, it makes me go, is he doing it right?
Yeah, he might be the one that has the right ideas. You guys are all the mono party. They've had their guy in every single time for the past 20, 30 years. You had the Bushes, then you had Clinton, then you had a Bush, and then you had Joe Biden and Obama, and then after that, wild card. Wild card comes in, is not part of the system, was a businessman, had his own celebrity already. People already knew who he was. He already made his money everywhere else, and he's coming in from outside the system. Everyone turns their guns on that guy. Why?
Exactly.
Why is that? That's weird.
And the thing that astonishes me is that people can't take a step back and realize that no one labeled him as a racist, sexist, xenophobic bigot before he declared for presidency.
Oh, yeah.
He was in pop culture. He was on Oprah. He was listed in rap songs. He was on The Apprentice. And you could have said he was a narcissist and a womanizer back then, but he was never labeled the way that he was. And overnight, the messaging began.
Well, nobody had a problem with it because it was a character. I mean, that's what was sort of admirable about him, or what you found entertaining, attractive, whatever it was. That's what he was. But once he started doing the things that I liked about him, like what I liked about him as a president, and I've said it before, was he had balls. He went and talked to world leaders and people that were dangerous. I always thought that was fascinating, and I thought he had balls. Then when he stood up after getting his ear blown off, he proved it. So that's a leader. You have my vote. It's an endorsement. Done.
Yeah, dude's metal. Dude is
like, I can't vote for anybody. Like, sorry, you tried to take him out. You got my vote.
I definitely think that this is going to be something that brings more people like you over to his side. But the thing that really bothers me is that I feel like the modern state of America has been divided into tribalism of two parts. And it's very hard for people, not everyone. There's a lot of centrist libertarian types that are capable of hearing both sides, but it's very difficult for people to hear the opposing viewpoint without getting enraged or having major problems. And I think what's happened is we were so successful with overcoming adversity, defeating enemies, overcoming challenges, there's not really anything left. So what ended up happening was, instead of looking outwardly for like the USSR or anything like that, we looked in and we said the enemy must be the opposing political party. Yeah. The people over there on the other side of the political aisle. And I think what ended up happening is it was like a football team. So like a football team, like I remember when I was in high school, like the offense and the defense, they do different drills separately. They hang out with different groups, and then they practice against each other.
But they all shower together.
Yeah. That's the one place that brings them together. But the thing that happens is they almost forget that they're on the same team when they're practicing before the first game. And I remember one of our linebackers blindsided our quarterback and messed him up. And he stood up and he goes, "You didn't tell me I couldn't do that." He knew he couldn't, but because he was told he wasn't told he can't, he thought he could get away with it, thinking he did something cool for the defense, not realizing that if he would have injured the quarterback when we went out and played in our first game, if he got hurt, then it would have been bad for everybody. And that's what's happening with America. We've become so tribal that we're focusing more on like hating the other side rather than thinking about what's good for everyone collectively.
That's true.
Commie, you said collective.
No,
that's true. I did.
Yes, because
we are like
very good analogy.
We're united. To use a different word, we're united. It's everyone that is a working man, working woman, person that is raising a family in America, regardless of political alignment. We all want the best for everyone around us and ourselves, right? The majority of people. Some people are malicious and evil, but for the majority, we want to see other people prosper. And it's not. I think it is the media that has turned us. Like you said, like we're focusing on each other.
Oh, and social media.
100% are focusing on each other, but because the way the media has portrayed it, the way that they've manipulated headlines, the way they've manipulated events and made us at each other's throat, when most of us believe the same things. We want to make more money so we can feed our families, so we can be happy. That's regardless. Everyone has that same opinion. But they paint it as you are evil if you believe this way. You are evil if you believe this way. And then you just fight each other.
I honestly think we need to do a better job of understanding different perspectives.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of viewpoints that I don't agree with, but I understand where they come from. So like just as like a very, very simple example of like taxes. If you grew up in an inner city and the government provided your family with housing so you weren't on the street, and they provided you with stipends for food so you could eat, and then when you went to college you got a scholarship, and then you were able to go to school and you became a teacher and now you work for the government, you're going to view high government and high taxes as something that's beneficial to people.
Yeah.
But conversely, like if you grew up in like a rural area and you saw your parents drain their retirement, drain their savings, put everything into a business, sacrifice like crazy, go nights with only eating ramen and work and give 80 hours a week to this business, and eventually you made money and now you have a nice house and a boat and you take vacations and your life is really good. And the only thing you know about the government is that they come along once a year and say, give me 40% of that.
Right.
You're going to view the government and taxes as a terrible thing. So two different perspectives, which are very valid on the same issue. And it doesn't mean you agree with them, but I think we need to have more unifying understanding of like, where do people come from with their viewpoints? And if we can get there, I think it'll become more civil instead of tribal. And people becoming enraged and not able to have conversations at Thanksgiving because they disagree.
And I think it is, because I think the problem with those arguments is the one side is now told to demonize and villainize
Yes.
the other side so hard,
Yes.
instead of try to find any sort of understanding.
Yes.
And I think that's the problem, is if you're not being told that you're so filled with hate, because now you're being told that these people in there are ghetto and they don't try and they don't work and
right.
they don't try for,
Right.
they never deserved anything.
They're all
Now you're
trash,
being
yeah.
told that, they're white trash, they don't deserve anything.
Right.
Everything was handed to
Right.
them. They've never worked for anything. That's what you're being told.
Exactly.
In reality, maybe they're both working hard. And maybe there needs to be a conversation. Maybe if you sit there and you meet somebody.
Exactly.
Because have you ever had a conversation in any city, any bar, any place we've ever performed?
Mm-hmm.
We're not that different. We're all human, and we're forgetting that.
Yeah.
And that's why I so worry about this entire thing being divide and conquer and being such a larger problem.
Yes.
Is because that always seems to be the thing that over time works in warfare. Every time.
Divide and conquer. And to go back to the assassination attempt, I think this is making more people realize, oh wait, he's not this crazy monster person. They're trying to take him out. They're like, you see, 50 Cent did an entire concert with Donald Trump on the back.
Yeah.
Like he's one of us kind
Yeah.
of thing. Like, cause I saw this great video. And this guy was like a liberal and he was talking about it. I wish I could remember his name, but he was saying, I'm voting for Donald Trump and I've never voted for anybody on the right ever, but I'm voting for him because they treat him like they treat us. By I mean us, the normal person, the citizen of America. They strung him along with all of these crazy stories, trying to get him into court. They got a felony on him, and now they're trying to shoot him. Like, this guy's not one of them. He's
Yep.
one of us.
Yep.
And there's tons of examples of that all across social media of people saying that same thing. So I think the tides of turning. The tides have been turning for a while.
Yeah.
And I think
And those court charges got dropped real quick.
what happened to those?
Monday.
Nobody talking about them, right?
Yeah.
They were dropped Monday.
They were dropped Monday is when they were all clear. They were like, oh, you know what? Now that we took another gander, it's
A little awkward on that
I
one.
had a feeling that judge was going to do it anyway, but pretty quickly they were like, oh, wait, 34 counts. What? Oh, my
This is
goodness. I can't believe this is even in
ridiculous.
court. Oh, this isn't part of a bigger plot.
Yeah. So you have this massive mono party that I've been talking about. That you have this state and media that have been pushing on this for years, and they felt like they had the ball in the narrative. They had everyone in their pocket. They had Hollywood in their pocket. They had massive media on their pocket. They had everyone on their narrative, and the narrative is falling apart, and they don't know what to do. Joe Biden goes up there. He is a mess. Everyone has to flip and go, oh, we were concerned about this for a long time, and now we're very like, what's going to happen? And they're going to turn and take him out. So like you were saying, that they're after both of these presidents at the same time because, one, Joe Biden, their narrative is falling apart and they couldn't hold on to it. And now that narrative is falling apart. They're making him into this monster that he's not really. Sure, he's bombastic. Sure, he makes crass jokes or whatever. That's fucking hilarious. That's more human than having some person up there that's just wearing a suit and saying all the right things. That is a real person, and they're trying to destroy that because it's all falling apart, and they don't know what to do. I think that's what's so positive for me is they don't know what they're doing, and it's falling apart.
I think the
agree.
narrative is, but I think the problem is that shooter in Pennsylvania is not the end. He's one person. To think that he's the only person in this country who's willing to try to take those chances to put that in position, this type of thing I'm concerned about is going to either escalate or be attempted to escalate. And honestly, when you look at what that shooter was and who he was, he's the natural end result of the messaging systems that we've talked about.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying in any way that the media is directly to blame for that guy, because they're not, but the messaging of saying endlessly, and there's countless examples. Trump is a threat to democracy. Trump is a dictator. Trump will ruin our republic. And he was 20 years old, and that's important to think about because in 2016, when Trump was running, he was only 12. He was in 5th or 6th grade, and he constantly, for years of his life, being told endlessly, Trump is a dictator, Trump is a dictator,
And he
Trump
was
is a threat
locked
to
down
democracy.
from the time he was what?
Exactly.
You know, I
yeah,
mean,
exactly.
too.
Think about this kid's
Exactly.
life, and then look
Exactly.
at him.
And then here's where it gets even worse.
He's an emaciated little.
Yes.
I mean, he's probably picked on his whole life.
yes.
Like I'm
That's
not.
what
I'm,
his,
I'm not
uh,
excusing him,
people
but I
in his
mean,
school
this is a clearly a kid with a
Exactly.
mental disorder. Look,
Exactly.
Look at this kid.
He was bullied relentlessly. It's very obvious that's the type of person that was at every high school that was bullied relentlessly.
Nobody like. Would you look at this and go, "He was a school shooter," and you're like, "He was." Like anytime you see somebody who's convicted of a crime like that, you're not like, "I can't believe it."
Right.
I mean, he almost looks like Columbine. Like
Yes.
Yeah, close. They were actually semi-popular.
they were, weren't they?
Yeah, he looks like every other one since Columbine, though. I'll tell you that. And not that it's
But we've
funny.
talked about it before. The SSRI problem.
I guarantee you, I'd love to know if
Both
this
of his
was on-
parents are psychologists. Did you know that?
No,
Both of
I'm
them.
very
Wow.
curious if he was on SSRIs. Very curious.
Because they do work for some people, but they mask the problem. They make you. You've talked about this. They make
Yeah,
you
they're a
numb.
band-aid. They also mess with your head and make you do things that you
Right.
don't normally do.
So that's when I don't do the conspiratorial, like they are after trying to take them all down. I think it's more of massive incompetence and selfishness and wanting power. So they want power by going, Donald Trump is fake. He's this horrible person because they want power, right?
Yeah.
And then you also get the selfishness because they want money. And you have people that are selling pills to kids when they don't need them, doing all this stuff, and they get money that way.
Well, it's
you have multiple evils happening out there that are culminating in evil acts.
It's
I
the
don't think it's like
monopoly
a-
of mental health care.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's really what it is. It goes back to the exact same thing, and it's what they've monopolized serotonin, and you're pumping it into all these kids. What this kid did was commit suicide, and it just happened to be aimed at Trump. There was no way that kid thought he wasn't going to get killed.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, he
no way he thought he wasn't going to get killed.
Yeah, he knew.
I'm very interested.
Smart.
Also, why there's not some kind of internet footprint from this guy? He didn't have a Facebook account. He didn't have a YouTube channel. He didn't have a Twitter. He had nothing. Like where's that?
Well, lies.
But for a kid that's being relentlessly bullied, I mean, is that hard to believe? I don't know.
Not in this year. Not a 20-year-old not having any kind of footprint on the internet.
Well, it's
at
just
all.
another place for people to dog on him,
Yeah.
maybe.
He's got something. He's got a
I
fortune.
mean, I do see both those sides,
Reddit or
but I
something.
definitely see both those sides. But you'd think at least a troll account.
have something. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that'll come out in time. I'm sure that he
Yeah.
had
That's what I'm
accounts that
interested
just
to
weren't
see
his
is if-
personal
yeah.
accounts.
He didn't leave a manifesto, did he? He didn't leave anything? Not that we know of yet.
We don't know yet.
yet. No, but they did go to his house. His dad answered the door, and it was sad.
Well, regardless of whether or not he has social media presence, one thing that's obvious is he was the end result of all of that stuff. Because if you take a normal
Yes, he
person,
was.
if you take a normal person, right, who has Trump derangement syndrome, they're incapable of talking about Trump or even hearing his name without becoming enraged, right? Someone who has a stable mental health background and a stable living, they're going to become someone who screams at family dinners and storms out of Thanksgiving. If you take someone who is very unstable mentally with nothing to lose and has a lifetime of being bullied, harassed, and outcasted, it ends up being that.
Right.
And to think that he's the only person in this country that's at that mental state after the years of messaging, I think is a very big mistake.
And for the media to come out right after this, like literally the same day, I haven't heard from Donald Trump's team about quieting the rhetoric around everything and really needing to cool the room down with all this rhetoric. Media, you're the one that did it. You are the one that made him out to be Hitler.
Yeah.
Donald Trump wasn't the one that said put him in a bullseye.
Yeah.
If we're gonna why don't we hold Joe Biden to the same standard that you held Trump to? You held him up to fight like hell. That's a call to violence and all this stuff. He said put him in a bullseye. I know that it's campaign talk and they're fighting each other and it's all bombastic and I don't really care. But you guys cared when Donald Trump said fight like hell. So where's all that?
You charged him
Where's
with
all that heat?
an insurrection, or wanted to.
Right.
You charged him with 34 counts of paying off Stormy Daniels. You went after him in every single way. You said when the shot was fired, you basically said Donald Trump hurts classic bullet. Like, it was unbelievable the way that you covered it.
Yeah.
In the
It's
most
disgusting.
jackass way possible without letting anybody know what really happened. It's entirely their fault. And I understand that there's a lot of angry people that when Biden came out and said, we have to stop this, we have to stop, and was apologizing for saying put him in the crosshairs and that sort. And a lot of people are going to find that completely disingenuous. But if there is some sincerity to that, to where we can grow as a nation, that's a good thing. I wouldn't automatically just go, let's hate that. Like, every Democratic voter did not get on a roof and shoot that person.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's an important thing, and people are allowed to grow.
Yes.
If you can't deal with that, and when we can't get bigger, that's a real problem.
Yes.
I understand being angry, but being just as angry as that kid or a mob is fucking stupid.
It makes you no better. It makes you worse. There's tons of people that want to go stoop down to that level. Say, we can't keep fighting nice. We need to, play at their game. I don't think so. I'd rather die with my principles and do the things that I believe in than to stoop to people that I think are evil.
Yeah, and you can fight when you need to fight.
You do it justified. That's how we built this country. We didn't just start shooting people. We wrote a declaration, signed all these things. We signed all these things together and said, hey, British people, well, fuck off. We don't want you around anymore. And they said, well, this is our colony. We're going to fight you. Then we fought. There's things that you have to do to justify and do things in the proper way. You can't just start doing crazy shit like that.
Yeah, that's why freedom of speech was such a radical idea in the world at the time, because it wasn't written to protect things that you agree with. It's to protect people who hate you, who say terrible things. And I think that the foundation of what we were rooted on needs to come back. You may disagree with people, but like Dave said, giving credit where credit is due and acknowledging the good things that do happen is a way to not only bridge the gap and the divide between the two tribes, but to move things forward. And also, more importantly, to let people who disagree with you know that you're being objective. Because if they can know that, like, okay, I disagree with you on this, but I understand where you're coming from and I'll give you credit for this, that lets them know you're not just refuting them, that you're listening to them and giving them your points. That's the pathway.
And that's also, if you're taking ownership by saying that I shouldn't have said put him in the crosshairs, saying literal Hitler, you're taking ownership in that moment.
Yeah.
You realize your responsibility in it. So let's move in that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's try to, if we don't mend this, we're all going to go down with the ship. We're all in this.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. People might think it's cheesy, like we're all in this together. Well, we
really
were.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think everyone knows, regardless of political views, that we're hanging on the edge of a thread.
Right.
We are really close to having some bad shit happen.
And when I see people high-fiving when that happened to them,
It's disgusting.
It's absolutely sick. And it's
disgusting.
Like, but in my head, I'm going, I wouldn't high-five if that was Joe. I'd be just
way.
as sad.
Yeah.
It's disturbing.
And not only from a moral perspective, you're right. From a moral perspective, it's repugnant to try to root for that kind of a thing, for political violence, but just from a practical one. These people that think that it's okay to try to go after Trump, what bar does that set?
Yeah.
That sets a precedent where you're going to allow people to say, especially radical people on the right, most of whom have guns, by the way, that they're going to say, if you're going to go for our guy, why don't we go for yours? And then where does it stop? And then you have a country
just
that
escalates.
where no one can be safe in political office, where no one can feel comfortable in public, and that's not anything we want. That's flirting with the line with civil war.
No, it sounds like something a much larger group would want.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like something that would keep you in fear in your home.
Mm-hmm.
Fat and ordering stuff for $38 that gets shipped to you in a drone every night.
Mm-hmm.
Separate him.
And completely not free. And the idea of any speech that you actually have that's free being taken away from you.
Yep.
That's not a free country.
Right.
So anyway, we do have to get out of here. Tomorrow we're going to be discussing...
Let's talk about the Jack Black
tomorrow night,
Tenacious
D. We were going to talk about it tonight, but we... obviously, some things were said. It was by Kyle Gass and not Jack Black, but I'm not going to make the excuse of it. I personally saw them live last year. I've been a fan for over 20 years.
Me too. I'm a huge.
So it was kind of disappointing to hear Kyle say that, but, sometimes...
Well, and it's almost exactly like what you just said, where it's like he said it, and then he released a statement that was like, I've crossed the line, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And it's like, okay, let's move in that direction.
Yeah,
like you
so
just
do
said.
we let it go then? And I think the answer is yes. Like it's
They both apologized.
he made a fucking joke that was tasteless.
It's
and
true. Yeah, it was a
I've
joke.
made-
They're doing a show. It
I
is a
made
joke.
30
I get it.
today.
I get it.
You know what I mean?
I just want to say, you
wanna talk
guys
about
too, y'all handled this topic so brilliantly. Jimmy, your takes were so good. I'm just really like, this is such a banger. I'm just really happy to be part of it. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. I know it was more of a compliment to Jimmy, but thank you.
well, and QB.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, and thank you, B. You did a good job.
Well, I just want to say, guys, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for having me here. It means the world to me, and I really appreciate that you guys brought me back and wanted me here. So
You're a
thank
good
you.
dude, man.
Yeah, it's always
you,
fun.
guys.
Even when it's a dark time, it's still fun to hang
Yeah.
out.
And to anybody that was listening to this, like obviously times are really rough, things are really hard, but for all of the struggles we're going through, we've overcame all of them before, and I think we can overcome them in the future. And any struggles that you guys are personally dealing with right now, I hope those clouds part and the sun shines bright for all of you.
I think that's the best way to end the show, actually.
Absolutely.
Let's just say good night. Thank you very much for tuning in. And honestly, just don't blame your neighbor and anybody you see that disagrees with you and go out there and hate everybody. Good night.